How great would it be not to worry when preparing for a new speech? Well, I've been dealing with this question for a long time now, and today I want to share 3 ideas that are helping me along the way. The third one being the one I struggle the most with. This is the 5th speech I give in Toastmasters. But a pattern that I noticed since the icebreaker talk is that for some reason I've been avoiding the easy path, creating all these unnecessary hoops for myself to jump through. So it's no wonder that whenever I think about creating and giving a new speech, I feel aversion towards the idea. So I've been trying to simplify this whole process and try to ease the path in every single speech that I give. Don't get me wrong, I still want to simplify it further. I want one day for it to become effortless. The idea of giving entire impromptu speeches is very appealing to me. And today is not it yet. I prepared for this one. But here are the 3 ideas that I want to share. First is trust the soup. Yes, you heard it right. Trust the soup. It means trust your own thoughts and ideas. I'll admit, the first time I read this expression in a book, I thought it was silly. But funnily enough, it's the only thing I still remember from that book. I can't even remember the author or the title. You see, for some reason, it's very common for us to disregard the first ideas in our minds as not being good enough. Well, 2 months ago, I started taking improvisation classes, and one of the things that you learn in improvisation classes is not to try to be smart or funny. Just say whatever pops in your mind first. The improviser learns that it's not about the ideas themselves, but how you use them that can make a scene interesting. This is what I've been doing with this talk. I took whatever I was struggling with at the moment and made it a topic of the speech. So trust the soup, which leads us to our second idea. Don't try to be clever or original. There is nothing new under the sun. Yes, this is a cliche. But do you know why this is a cliche? It's because it is true. You don't need to innovate. A better way to approach it is, how can I add value to my audience? This is what I decided to put into practice for my second speech. So I decided to talk about a book that I had read before. But in order to talk about a book that I had read before, I had to reread that entire book again. So that took me a couple more weeks, and in the end, I had way too much material. So that's another thing I learned from it. A bonus tip, if you will. Start with the small topics and expand them to fit the time you have available for your speech. Don't try to do the opposite, which is starting with lots of topics and trying to cram them all into your speech. You don't need to read an entire book to give a speech or try too hard to be clever or original. Which leads us to our third idea. Let go of results. Just let go. Yes, this is easier said than done. But here's where I find the philosophy of Epictetus to be so helpful. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, tells us how we must learn to discern what is inside our control from what is outside our control. He goes on to say that whatever is outside our control is to be treated with indifference. He argues that if we value and expect a particular result or outcome of something that is outside our control, we cannot help but to feel anxious, stressed, and afraid. For my third speech, I wanted to learn more about storytelling. So what did I do? I got a storyteller deck of cards which explains common structures of famous stories. It's quite cool. Stories are very powerful. They capture people's attentions. It's a magical thing. But do you know what this also was? Procrastination. The idea of letting go of results helped me once I realized what was inside my control and what was outside my control. What was inside my control was to add a story to my speech. What was outside my control was the audience liking it. So here's the trick. If we let go of the need of being liked, our anxiety drops. It's just how it works. But I did warn you, it is easier said than done. Another thing that I find helpful is to practice mindfulness. So whenever I'm doing something that scares me, I also try to notice if I can find any tensions in my body. And if I find anything, I relax it and I repeat to myself, detach, detach. It's hard to overstate how helpful this practice has been for me. So here are the 3 ideas to recap. First is trust the soup. You already have good ideas. Second is don't try to be clever or original. There's nothing new under the sun. And third, let go of results. Can even think of our friend Epictetus for this. In the end, it's all data. Take things as experiments. Maybe even think of yourself as a scientist. I hope that these ideas are helpful for your journey in Toastmasters as much as they have been helpful for mine. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster. Thank you.